everybody, and welcome to the esports company. It's Overwatch time. Happy Wednesday, all. It is Tiny Shiny and Lord the Ethan. We are going to be your casters for this afternoon. Blue Bishop Carroll and Forest Hills are going to be battling it out in the final week of the regular season. I do believe we are setting ourselves in fourth and final match that they will be playing, actually, together, which is really great to think about heading into this, Ethan.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an exciting day, and not only because we get to watch more of the Overwatch 2 that we know and love so much, but also just because of the spectacular amount of talent that is on both of these teams. Taking a look at the standings for the regular season so far. Again, like you mentioned, Tiny, this is the last week. You've got Forest Hill sitting comfortable at that number 3 position. Bishop Carroll Blue lagging only a little bit behind, and based on the performance of Forest Hills last week, it makes this matchup in particular to me a little bit more competitive than you might originally think. I'm very excited to see these players, and if we take a look at the schedule of the games that we've got going on today, it's not just these two teams. It's also going to be Greater Johnstown versus Ferndale, Hollidaysburg versus Bishop Carroll White, but the other match, the second one, Tiny, that you and I will be covering is Winber versus Berlin Brothers, the number 2 and 1 seed respectively. That's what I'm super excited about.
We're looking forward to every match today and see all these players battled out in one of the last regular season matches. And with that, our playoff bracket as well. Only 4 teams will be able to qualify. And there's currently a 4-way tie for 4th place. So some serious results need to come out today that will set out for this playoff bracket. So incredibly important matches. Now more than ever, we need to see these players start to shine. Forest Hills sitting at number 3. Pretty good position. You're pretty safe, but wouldn't be too... Actually, you're probably locked in at this point with the 4-way tie. So they're feeling pretty good. Blue Bishop Carroll really need the win here, however.
Yes, they absolutely do. And so before we're jumping into the match, let's take a look at the talent that we'll be working with. Starting here first, I believe Bishop Carroll Blue on the screen, hopefully. We'll have on the tank role, Aiden. Bishop Carroll 6 or Carroll 6. They'll be leading the charge for the team. Going to the DPS players, you've got Tommy Yu, big fan, and Kenzie. Oh man, I love watching these kids play. On that DPS role, dealing the damage, getting those eliminations, and then supporting the team as a whole with useful utilities and healing output is going to be Josh and Olivia. Super excited to see how Bishop Carroll Blue fares against their opponent today.
They're going to need to fare incredibly well. I want to see this team synergy. I want to see them work together. And now, Lord Ethan, why don't you bring us through to their opponents?
Yeah, Forest Hills, historically, a stacked roster. A little bit of a rough game last week. One they're definitely looking to bounce back from. On the tank role, you've got Stained Llama, again, leading that charge, helping the team secure the positions they want to play in. Bupiari and Bloodhound, who we're familiar with, by the way, from last season, playing that DPS role, coming in, getting those crucial kills to help the team succeed. And also, as part of that endeavor for success, you've got Jamie Baumel, a returner from last season, and Vang coming in on the support lineup. And like you mentioned for Bishop Carroll Blue, I want to see these kids work together for this one singular identifiable win condition. How do we take each map as it comes? And that is what will give Forest Hills the edge in this matchup.
Starting out on Oasis, too. That'll be where we're heading for our map pool that we now get to see up on our screen. It is best of 3, aka first to 2. Nothing new for these players at all, but that does mean that every map carries just a little bit more importance, and Oasis really going to be a tone setter, needing that teamwork on this map in particular.
It's like you read my mind there, Tiny, talking about how important the control point game mode is. It's not my preference. It's a little too deathmatchy in style. I prefer the strategy, the staging, evaluating each engagement as it comes. But the fact is that these are principles no less important on the control point, the King of the Hill game mode. Name of the game: control an objective until its capture progress reaches 100%. And it is a best of 3, a first to 2. So not not too different from the series as a whole. As we begin to see the compositions for both these teams round out, I definitely expect something a little bit brawly. So it's a little bit of a surprise to me seeing Forest Hills lock into a composition that is a little bit more poke oriented. You still got a little bit of a close up and personal kind of aspect to the red team here with Bloodhound, Bubiari, and Stained Llama playing heroes that are comfortable playing a little bit closer. But they're going to need to play close. Looking at Bishop Carroll, they're running the Diva, the Pharah, Ana, Lucy, all heroes who can benefit from longer ranges. And of course, you've got you're going to have Tommy Yu on the Symmetra very briefly to get the team teleported out, get a head start on their progress to the objective.
And that Symmetra might pay off a little bit more in the long run. I mean, you do have the speed boost on the side of Carroll, so looking at that, you're going to see that Pharah get much more close and personal, and a Junkrat, a great matchup into that, is immediately taken out by Carroll 5, aka Kenzie. Great to see her on the Pharah as well, and gonna be pretty uncontested, just chilling up on the high ground. No one even able to reach her because they're so busy looking at Aiden, who's managed to sneak up Stain's Llama, who actually originally we assumed was gonna be the tank player, but showing some flexibility of their own on the support.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Olivia's Moira is nothing to ever be too surprised by, and how competent she is at. I'm sorry, they are at the role. Really good starting fight here for Bishop Carroll Blue. They've taken some early control of the objective. Now it's just going to be up to Forest Hills to play that retake game. A swap coming in from JB Baumel from the Zenyatta onto the Baptiste. You sacrifice a little bit of the damage potential, but you get a hero who's capable of dealing with Kenzie's Pharah, which is definitely part of the win condition that Forest Hills has identified.
Anytime a Pharah's in the battlefield, you expect it to be your win condition. So many resources are often poured into that hero, and look at this, you're trying to move up, but once again, Kenzie spotting out Bupari. Can't make any ground gain for it. You're already down a player, so Bloodhound will be following them shortly back to spawn. It's just a stall game for Bishop Carroll. They don't even really need to do too much here. They can just afford to buy the time on the point.
They definitely got to make sure that Kenzie lives here. JB Baumel hyper aggressive onto that character, trying to get him out of the field. But the fact is that Forest Hills has already lost enough manpower to lose the fight as a whole as well. Coming up on the self-destruct here, Aiden is going to be looking for an opportunity either to zone out space or to secure some pretty straightforward kills. Nothing generated quite yet for Forest Hills, so this is going to be a troubling fight for them ahead.
It's already troubling. You're losing your Lucio player so early on. You don't have that speed boost to try to get on the point. 80% and counting, you're going to struggle to move in. You don't have that win condition identified. Maybe you can look for your Sigma for Vang to build up that gravitic flux in time to get some consistent damage on these players before Josh gets that sound barrier.
The Coalescence out on the field as well. It's going to make it difficult to touch the point here for Forest Hills.
But they don't have any other choice. They got to go in, and Bloodhound firsthand just gets absolutely run over by the Diva. Those boosters not doing them any good. Barrage out from Kenzie, not even necessary. All these ultimates coming out. Because you know what? You can't save it for next round, even if you would have liked to in a really great showing to open it up 100-0.
Oh, that's one of my favorite calls, though, is you know, what are you saving ult for? Well, I'm saving it for Overwatch 3 at this point. Used to say we'd be saving ults for Overwatch 2. It's an interesting concept, though. Bishop Carroll, they ended up, I mean, you saw all of those ultimates procced up at the latter stages of that round, and really the only reason why, you know, Kenzie was sitting on the Barrage, Olivia on the Coalescence, Aiden generated, of course, that self-destruct that I had mentioned before that last fight. The fact is that ultimates are used in a myriad ways, one of which is to compensate for a man disadvantage or to swing a fight. There was never any need to. Bishop Carroll was able to win those fights without ultimates, and that was really important for them. It's going to be continue to be important. Some more swaps coming in. Vang is going to take up the hammer and shield as Reinhardt, while Stained Llama goes onto the Moira. Lots of healing.
And really, actually, those supports are now mirrored. So no real advantage being shown in this point, but the positioning of Forest Hills might be their demise. Stuck in a small area, at the mercy of Kenzie just raining down on them. Bloodhound might have been able to escape, but not at a really good vantage point to land these Junkrat shots, and it's this sliver of HP. Kenzie eventually will be finding that final blow, and capture already gone the way of Carroll.
Yeah, Bishop Carroll taking control of the point, taking this hallway as well. Kenzie walking away with a couple of critical picks onto both of the DPS. Vayne goes in for the charge, maybe a little bit ambitious, but I love the energy. And on that note as well, love the energy of Bloodhound. No fear whatsoever, a concussion mining into the Pharah to see if he can secure that early pickoff. Now on the Sojourn, lots of damage potential, but they're going to have to respawn here first. Kenzie's working dangerously close to that barrage. Forest Hills is going to be counting on JB Balmal to have the sound barrier so that they have a means by which to defend against the barrage of damage.
It's close. If you're able to play a bit slower, then JB Balmal can easily figure that out. Only a few percentage points, 5% needed now. Should be able to engage with that tool if they so wish. But just need to be careful, probably knowing that several ultimates are going to be coming their own direction very, very soon. And including that self-destruct, opening it up straight into the back. Shield might have been there for the Reinhardt. The Bloodhound finds themselves at a splat against a wall somewhere in the map of Oasis. So Vang says, I'm going to take this into my own hands. Tries to charge straight in, but forced into a wall, which might have been for better rather than the worst case scenario. Will be falling eventually, mirroring coalescences on the field to try to even this one out, compensate for the loss of the players, but it is Bishop Carroll, oppressively aggressive. You might have lost your Reaper player all through that, but you're sitting pretty on 80%.
Yeah, absolutely. But look at the sacrifices from Bishop Carroll. Not only did they use the Coalescence to counter out Stained Llama's ultimate, but they also sacrificed both DPS ults. That's a lot of damage out of the field for Bishop Carroll.
And Black, and you know that's why you have your sound barrier. You don't have to fear these damage ultimates, making it an even bigger advantage than it already was. Vang looking for the Moira, able to fade out in the nick of time, has to rotate back to their point, be that shield for the team that they needed, but it might be just too little, too late. The Earthshatter was so close within their grasp, but Bishop Carroll looking as strong as they have been, and that's a nice 2-0 sweep of Oasis to open this one up.
Yeah, and, you know, kind of going back to our conversation about the control point game mode, how important it is to establish expectations here on this first map type. Certainly, Bishop Carroll Blue has walked away from this after having set some pretty clear boundaries. That is, don't mess with Kenzie. Always expect Josh to be there to bail out the team. And also, there's no reason to not anticipate Aiden to push forth highly aggressively. Absolutely love what we saw from Bishop Carroll so far, but there are still there is still at least one more map. There are still possibly two to be played. The next stage, the next battleground for us will be the moonlit streets of Morocco, taking to Circuit Royale, which is the escort game mode. All you got to do is move a objective in the form of a payload from the beginning of the map to the very end. And with Forest Hills commencing their attack, they have a really good opportunity to establish the pace, the momentum that particular map is played.
Being the first attackers on an escort map can be good, especially when you're on defense moving that point. You know where you need to defend, and that helps you manage your abilities, your ultimates, much better. It might feel a bit calmer. It gives you that idea of a win condition where you might need to set up. So starting on attack might play into the favor of Forest Hills as well, along with Circuit Royale being a relatively open map. Thinking about the Pharah from Kenzie, maybe we see some hits hand come out, something that makes it a bit open range and harder for that Pharah to get value.
Yeah, and also oh man, there's a lot into that actually. I won't go entirely into it, but the thing about Circuit Royale, the thing about payload is, like you had mentioned, it kind of tells your team, it lets your team know easily where to play that is on the objective. So if we see the Pharah re-emerge from Kenzie onto Circuit Royale, we can definitely anticipate a lot of ultimate generation to come from her because just because of how many targets she'll actually be able to connect with those rockets. But you know, we very briefly, I think it was Bloodhound, saw seen on the Widow there on Oasis City Center, and this is a wonderful Widow map. I mean, you've seen it, Tiny, over at University at Buffalo. We got some pretty nutty Widow players on the team, Mudkip and Bezo, and this is their battlegrounds. This is where they like to play that particular hero. So I definitely would love to see a sniper or two, some of the hit scan run, especially knowing Kenzie's proclivity for the Pharah.
Now is your chance. You're on the attack, so you have the advantage to swap heroes a bit quicker than the defenders can just choose to walk back into spawn. And even Vang, we didn't talk about this too much. Pulled out the Sigma back on City Center. Sigma, a much, much stronger hero here on Circuit Royale.
Very strong, long sight lines, burst damage potential. You got a stun as well. I definitely want to see Vang go for an accretion connection onto Kenzie. Just knock that far right out of the skies. It's always so flashy. And so is this map in general. Great stage for flashy plays and for compositions that really start to make sense, not only for the game mode, but for the map as well. On that control point, it's a little more forgivable to run compositions, strategies that are a little more all over the place. It's a team deathmatch arena, basically. But this composition that Forest Hills is running, this collection of heroes, is a very good one. Although, maybe not the best start there for Stained Llama.
That's really what you were hoping to happen when those spawn doors first opened. Find a volley of Zenyatta orbs in your face. It's alright. You're right there. You're in the spawn. You'll be back in just a couple of seconds. Bloodhound 2. Feeling the Wraith of the Sojourn, and Junkrat here, it's a very interesting hero pick, and I'm curious where Bloodhound is truly going to find that value.
Invariably, it has to be a little bit of a comfort pick. Not the best matchup against Aiden's D.Va, but it can still do so much damage. Riptire is a free win condition, and that's what Bloodhound is playing for.
Yep, you're looking for a win condition. That's when you need to identify, and already we're seeing Tommy taking an L. Vang able to push them out. Having that shield is really helping these long sight lines, this insane amount of damage output that Sigma has in their possession. You even got Bubari on the Mercy, giving them that pocket, because why not give them that extra 30% damage, and those orbs will just absolutely shred through your team.
30%. It's actually a lot of damage amplification. It's only onto a single target, but JB Bommel is the only target that you got to worry about with that. This is a really clean fight here for Forest Hills. They're making good progress here to capture this first objective. See if they're actually able to do it, or if we get a contest from Bishop Carroll Blue.
Yeah, Bishop Carroll are looking for a recon test, but Forest Hills, they don't want to give too much space, and Zenyatta walking themselves into a bear trap on the ground. Sometimes those things can be really hard to see. I totally understand how that happens. Bloodhound falling incredibly low. Bubari there to heal them up, but now with Carroll, they're coming back. Sojourn through an amplification matrix is one scary sight to deal with. Instant one-shots with a full charge railgun.
I mean, it's double damage amplification through that matrix, and it was an expert deployment from Olivia there. They knew exactly where to place it and when as well to make sure that Forest Hills didn't continue generating an edge in that fight. And, despite the early pickoff there onto Josh, they're already back in the field with the Transcendence.
And you're back in the field. Look how big that Immortality field was. That saved about 4 players that Stained Llama just had. But they're not giving any room to breathe. Carroll's Stream coming out with both of their damage ultimates. And another team wipe on the point. But honestly, if you are Forest Hills right now, you're happy with the amount of commitment that their defense just poured into that fight.
But if you're tracking the ultimates, you know that they're coming up on both support ultimates again. Look at the pace that Olivia has generated. Another amplification matrix, zoning potential, kill potential. You got all of it right there in that one Baptiste ultimate. Not to mention the damage that Baptiste can do themselves. Early window here from Stained Llama, and it does zone out a little bit of space. There's a Riptire to follow.
In the corner and gives them room for that Riptire, but the Immortality field from Olivia has had a stellar performance on the Baptiste. The flex support is great, but Kenzie finding themselves on the ground, 1 point where the Bloodhound will be able to sniff them out. Gravitic Flux now needs to stay alive through this. Transcendence, yep, perfectly timed. Josh saving that one for the opportune moment, but here we go again. Olivia, Amp Matrix on the field. Carroll 2 looking for the shots, finds 2.
I mean,
off the back of that ultimate, this is huge. J-Bimo might have found Josh, but I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to try and hold on to this fight. They might want to give up the space now while they still can with the 30 seconds they still have in their bank.
I mean, earlier when you mentioned that Forest Hills had a reason to be happy with the commitments that Bishop Carroll had put into the previous fight, I'd also thought to myself there's also a pretty good reason to be sweating. There was only a minute and a half at that time. Now there's less than half a minute at this point. 10 seconds to even touch to the objective. Can it be done here by Bloodhound on the Sojourn?
Bloodhound, you gotta get there, buddy. You're not going to burn down instantly. Thought they had more time, but they didn't. Save Llama sacrificing their life to begin this overtime as it trickles down further and further. Bang has the Gravitic Flux, or not the Flux, but the Grasp, and not able to push themselves all the way through. Too many players standing in their way, and that right there is the points where they are going to need to hold in order to keep their season up for a good shot.
I mean, it's a little crazy, honestly. The hold that Bishop Carroll was able to attain. It's always something that I've said. Holding first point on any escort map is not a complicated endeavor, but it's no less an impressive one. Bishop Carroll played that exceptionally well, and they had not one but 5 different win conditions. Those 5 being each of the players and their skill sets. Marvelous transcendence from Josh there, in the presence of the Gravitic Flux from Vang. You had Olivia popping off. I don't think even I generate amplification matrices that quickly, and I've got like 300 hours on the hero. Wild DPS potential as well. Tommy, you made great work of the with the Ant matrices, and Kenzie and Aiden are of course devastating in the aerial fights. So you're going to get a little bit of a mirror here from Forest Hills. Taking up to the skies as well. Bloodhound now on the Pharah with Stain Llama on the Mercy to keep them supported. I do like JB Balma on the Torbjorn. He's ready to work, as they say. And Boopy Ari and the Lucio, just to make sure that Forest Hills can dance back and forth between advantageous or disadvantageous positions here in these impending fights. But it's definitely going to be a little bit challenging here. Very doable for Forest Hills, but they're going to have to muster up some pretty serious effort to make sure they hold.
It's going to be interesting here how this one's going to play out, because neither team has incredibly large amounts of healing, and already a Pharah 1v1 has won right off the bat. Bloodhound, however, has a Mercy in their disposal. Carol 3 still on one themselves. Olivia might be able to pull out the pocket, but in that time, the Pharah trades are going back and forth, and Josh not even able to really leave the spawn. I wanted to play as far back as they could, and I honestly cannot blame them. Amazing resurrection, but paid for with Olivia's life, even if you have Tommy back on the field.
Olivia is an anime watcher right there. The comm check in the voice chat is, off the back of my sacrifice, we find victory. And they do. Look at Bishop Carroll. Off of a revive that ended up costing Olivia their life, the team is able to just walk forward after winning the fight, the war of attrition.
You know, look at how much time you've gained. You have even a swap, Jibamo on the Torbjorn, which can be quite a thorn in the side that turret can be, but is quite far up. Needs to kind of find their way back to their team in order not to be caught out like this, but oh, it's so little too late. The Zenyatta from Josh has that extra damage output, and Kenzie is happy to pull that one out, and even the melee from Olivia, what was that? The Mercy in that golden box of victory. We could be talking about this all day, but it is going to be Bishop Carroll taking on the victory in their final match of the regular season. They are now at a 2-2 even record and tied with Forest Hills. Gives them a decent shot of qualifying for the playoffs.
Yeah, Bishop Carroll Blues, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'd like to see all the teams really qualify for playoffs, but Bishop Carroll Blue, they've some pretty dramatic improvements that they made as the season has progressed in such a short time as well, and so they definitely deserved this victory tonight. Forest Hills, definitely with a challenge that they faced this afternoon, and some really good responses that we saw to it as well. Whether it was Vang on the Sigma Bloodhound looking to mirror Bubiari, demonstrating a flexibility on the support lineup. So lots of good things to observe from Forest Hills. Unfortunately, not good enough to get them the win this afternoon.
You know, not quite, but overall, you finished with an even record in your regular season, and you have time to go back and work out any other kinks that you may need to get yourselves ready for the next games that might be upcoming. And speaking of that, we still have one more match for you here today, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be back with another match right after this break. welcome back to the Esports Company High School Overwatch Division. Tiny, Shiny, and Lord Ethan have returned with our second match of the day on the first stream. It is going to be Fernsdale versus Greater Johnstown to end it out. And I gotta say, Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna cut in and say that I'm very sad because I did not read the schedule correctly earlier, and I thought that I had said that we were casting a different match, but I'm still very excited for this one. Continue, Tiny.
Oh, yeah, no. The excitement is there. You can tell. That's how nervous we are. As we're talking about our words, we're interrupting each other. It's because we're excited, you know? That's exactly what it is. We're looking forward to the last Overwatch game of the regular season that we'll be casting. And speaking of which, why don't we go take a look at how the season has gone for these two teams during its length.
Yeah, taking a look at the standings. This is the number 7 and number 8 seed, respectively. Greater Johnstown going 1-2 in the regular season. Ferndale still looking for that first win, which invariably is it has to come to them today. I don't actually think it's a guarantee, even if they win, that they make it into the finals. But at the very least, you want to end the season. You want to end your tenure on a good note. What better opponent to be matched up against than Greater Johnstown, the number 7 seed, still looking for another win, hoping to even out their experience in the tournament so far. So let's take a look at that roster, Tiny. Tell me a little bit about Greater Johnstown.
Greater Johnstown, they're 5 players. Cherry Bloom, aka Jared, on the tank. Strong as ever, very, very important role in many team competitions. River Galaxy, Trojan 1, going to be their damage, and in the backline, keeping them all up and healthy and enabling their team will be Zeke and Slender.
Yeah, I'm familiar with a couple of these names. River Galaxy, Trojan 1, Trojan 4, Cooper, and Zeke. So excited to see them back in action. I think that I might have gotten to watch them once, or cast them once during the regular season. But moving on to Ferndale, a brand new set of names for me. First time that I'm actually getting to watch them in action this afternoon. You're going to have Matic21 on the tank role, Gaming Bumble and Storm playing the DPS heroes, and Layla Foxplay and Damon on the support lineup, making sure the team stays sustained during some of these fights. And Tiny, our map set is no different than the series previous to this one. We'll still be starting on Oasis for our first map, moving on to Circuit Royale, and then ending the afternoon, if we get there, on the mythical third map, New Queen Street, the push game mode.
Yeah, because, you know, it's a myth until it's actually put into text. I've been told that prior to last week, there has not been a single map 3. So, hey, now or never, I want to see that map 3. Give me some push, please. We talk about push, you know. Oasis is cool, too. Control's nice. Very chaotic, very deck dashy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's something.
It's not my game mode. I don't like this game mode. I have warmed up to the push maps though. At least it's really only because of my personal win record on that map type. I didn't think that I would enjoy it. I don't really care for the map design. But here's hoping that we get to see a glimpse of that I get to rant and rave like the lunatic I am about the push game mode, how I've warmed up to it, and how those maps are designed. But first we'll have to get through these first 2 maps, and namely this one, Oasis, starting again on starting now on Gardens. Maybe we get to University this time around, but at least for now it's going to be close up brawl between both of these teams. Look at the Reinhardts, Matic21 and Cherry Bloom, both on the Shield and Hammer hero. I love it. He's not meta. He's not strong compared to a handful of the other tanks, but he provides a structure that is so nice for these players to play around. It makes sense to run the Reinhardt in this league.
I mean, Reinhardt, even in Overwatch 1, was a very prominent pick, especially in that main tank role, just because it's a very easy hero to kind of play around and synergize behind. As we're saying, Gaming Bubble wanted to take that road around the back, wasn't able to do it, was denied because of that Reinhardt. So now has to take another approach, and playing into the fire of Cooper might not be the best way to do so. But with Flame Capture already being locked, and Johnstown take it basically for free.
Yeah, first fight's still kind of waiting to break out, but there's a little bit of a fight happening here in the corner of Gardens. Still, a lot of picks going in favor of Johnstown.
Johnstown looking to take this one away, taking that high ground as well as the point, gave them a good advantage. They didn't really have to move anywhere. It was their opponents in Fernsdale that was forced to walk into them, and therefore they're going to hold on.
Yeah, in an instance like that, I would have wanted to see Ferndale just kind of back up and yield a little bit, look for an opportunity to engage rather than feeling like they were forced to engage. And now that's going to result in a little bit of a stagger, a disparity perhaps in the communication. Storm saying, I want to go in, and the rest of the team just waiting again for that opportunity. Buys a little bit more time for Johnstown to accrue some progress here on this objective, poke a little bit more for those ultimates. Look at how close Cherry Bloom is to that shatter.
Really, really close. You want to get in there, but Layla Foxplay attempted with that dash to get themselves out of trouble, but unfortunately ended up getting himself into more, going through the wall, unable to see that the Runner was just sitting and waiting. And River Galaxy finding another Matic, sitting at very, very low health in this small room. So Cherry Bloom's, all right, team, time to go in. Has that hammer swinging away.
Yeah, and doesn't have to sacrifice the Earth Shatter there either. That all-powerful stun that you can deliver. So Greater Johnstown is not only winning these fights, building objective progress, but they're also not being put in positions where they have to use ultimates as well. That's highly valuable. And a couple of swaps here as well from Ferndale make things a little bit easier for themselves. Gaming Bumble from the Reaper onto the Junkrat, Matic 21 onto the Hog.
And Matic on the Roadhog gives them a nice win condition if they're able to engage together as a 5-stack, but taking these different routes, it was a nice idea with the flank, but it was spotted out. River Galaxy shut it down, and even as the Dragon Blade on top of it, slicing and dicing with every bit of their being, but the reason for running their Roadhog is you have the ability to take out these players, finish that one shot, but it might be a little too late in this round of Gardens to get yourselves onto the objective. Might have found another, but the point has been completed.
That's right, Greater Johnstown off to a marvelous start here so far against Ferndale, still looking to find the pace that they want to play this game at. But this is the mode, this is the map type that you get to do that. So Ferndale is in a position that isn't a bad one by any means. They're beginning to understand how Greater Johnstown wants to approach these engagements. They're also they were at least at the start in a position where they were mirroring the composition, or at least the way that they wanted to play, and now they're looking to change it up. And if there's any one good win condition in Overwatch, especially Overwatch 2, it's getting your opponents to swap off of their composition onto a different strategy. And that's definitely something Greater Johnstown has gotten away with. That's something that Ferndale is looking to accomplish. Now putting Gaming Bumble onto a just as high damage dealing of a hero as they've been on so far, but now they're going to be able to do even a little more on the Bastion.
I want a bit of cheese. With the composition that's coming out from Ferndale right now. I love it.
Oh no, goodbye, Gaming Bumble.
I love it, but no! Gaming Bumble and River Galaxy finds 2! Just off the fight ground, prioritizing that with the Pharah. I don't think it was expected at all, and River Galaxy time and time again shutting down these flanks. Just like that, capture going the way of the Greater Johnstown.
I think I really want to see Ferndale just play as a unit there. Matic actually had a really good call to just walk on a Cherry Bloom there, who actually suffered quite a bit under the pressure. Gaming Bubble walks away with a pick here as well. It's onto Zeke, which is absolutely massive here for Ferndale. River Galaxy is out as well.
Is that just 3? Or no, that's 2, just courtesy of the Bastion. Really great to have this one open. You did lose your Cassidy, but 3v5, 3v4, you will take those numbers at all, especially with a nice hook on a Slender. Was very confident in winning that Roadhog 1v1. Forgot that Roadhog might have 600 or 700 health in their pool. Barrage out, the hook came in just a bit too late, unable to be canceled. And there's Cherry Bloom. Time to find Layla, pinning them against the wall as River Galaxy return to the fight, happy and healthy. Flying above the opponents, not afraid of anything. Now it's up to Damon to stall a bit more percentage for their team, and eventually heading back to spawn point will be returning to Johnstown.
Crucially, though, for Ferndale, they did manage to, for the first time this map, manage to control some of the objective. So there's a little bit of confidence that can be inspired here. A little bit diminished now that Storm is out of the field. As long as Ferndale waits to take this next fight, if they can get another regroup. But that's not going to be the case here, Tiny.
River Galaxy's not even giving him a chance. Look at this. Oh, they're not giving him any room to breathe at all. The pedal is fully down against the floor, giving him any room. You can't. You just can't. So it forces Maddox to use the whole hog, but they're so far up in the air that the whole damage that they're looking for doesn't come through. However, Trojan wants still finding these pickoffs. All the focus is on the pharmacy. You cannot ignore the rest of the Trojans.
And in this whole kind of fight here in the spawn, progress has continued to ramp up here for, oh no, poor Storm. That's an unlucky pin there. Progress is ramping up here for Greater Johnstown.
Just Reinhardt things. Reinhardt things. That's all you can put it out. A nice hook onto them, but it gives a nice opportunity to shatter onto Gaming Bubble. They're gonna go. This lower mobility. Not able to put themselves back and spawn, and you gotta find someone at the point. You got 10 seconds to get there.
Yeah, but I don't know that that's going to be the case here for Ferndale. Grouped up in spawn, finds the hook there on Cherry Bloom, but unable to walk out. They're walking into so many ultimates, such a disadvantage. That first map ends up going to Greater Johnstown. Gonna have to see how Ferndale can perform on our next map, because that one was definitely pretty decisive in Johnstown's favor.
Yep, decisive is definitely the adjective I would use to describe that map. I mean, at the same time, you're playing against a Pharah, probably something you weren't expecting on Oasis. It can be there, but more often than not, you might see other selections, which is why we saw the Junkrat, often a comfort pick that we've seen so far in the esports company. Maybe possibly sticking to your comfort picks, going with your gut. The Roadhog did find a decent amount of value, Ethan, when they were actually able to get that space out of spawn. Playing off of that on Circuit Royale might be the way for them to move forwards.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And once Ferndale realized that they just need to take fights as 5, as opposed to exploiting like alternate angles and some kind of flanking routes, things started to look a lot better for them. So that's something I'm very excited to see from Ferndale in the upcoming map. And it's an important lesson to learn as well, as early as possible. Brilliant stuff from Ferndale. If anyone on the team had made that call, it was a very smart one, because essentially the way to maintain and obtain an edge in your matchups is to learn whatever lessons you need to very quickly, and then use those teachable moments against your opponents. Ferndale was able to capitalize, albeit only very briefly. But there's one thing to consider here, Tiny. Ferndale, again, a kind of a debuting roster, at least for me. We did not get to see any of Ferndale in the previous season. They're going up against some pretty veteran talent as well. River Galaxy, Zeke, Cooper, mainstays of the Greater Johnstown roster with that experience and not only the game and how it's to be played, but also in a position of leadership to help some of the new Greater Johnstown players in saying, look, this is how you play highly competitive matchups. And so Johnstown, I think, has that advantage going for them.
You're the veterans, you have the experience, you know how these competitive things works. It's not only about the playstyle, how you're actually playing the game, the mechanics down to it. Yes, those are very important to how it works, but it's also the mental state, how you're thinking, your thought process. Preparing yourself mentally for these competitive matches, keeping your cool, being calm and collected, which can be hard because you're not going to win every time. You're not. And facing that reality and taking that and turning it into a strength to take you forwards to that win condition. And honestly, Ferndale coming into this definitely were the underdogs, right? So them putting up some percentage on the point is still shows signs of hope for them moving into Circuit Royale. I do believe that they are going to be on the attack first, however. So we spoke about it a bit last match. It's going to be about setting the pace here, maintaining that solid mentality to just move on from the next map, take what you've learned and apply it here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Going back to defending and attacking here on Circuit Royale, it's a point of contention between casters and analysts, others that I've talked to, as far as whether or not the true advantage is to start on the defense or to start on the attack. For me, I've always been an attacking oriented player. I play the heroes that want to play aggressive, that want to capitalize on opportunities, and opportunities galore when you are able to establish the momentum for any given map. But certainly, map design in Overwatch, as it should be, highly favors the defensive playstyle, highly favors the defensive team. And so, you put River Galaxy back on the Pharah, let Zeke play the Mercy as expertly as they do, and you're looking at some pretty straightforward win conditions. But here, ready to respond, Ferndale puts Storm onto the Diva, now on the tank role. Gaming Bumble moves on to support Layla onto the DPS role, Matic as well. So a little bit of a shuffle here from Ferndale, but absolutely the right idea. They understand that you want to shut down the Pharah, you want to be able to close distance. How better to do that than put Storm on the Diva, run behind a defense matrix, infinite damage mitigation potential, and have all the damage behind you as well. Very excited to see how Ferndale handles this.
Incredibly. I mean, it's great to see these switches, knowing that things need to be made, and they've identified that. That's a huge step in the right direction. What also intrigues me, Ethan, here, Cherry Bloom on the Winston. I have no problem against counter diving here. All I'm going to say is it is not an easy thing to pull off against such a composition like this. Or defensive dive, yeah.
No, absolutely not. And my anticipation is for Greater Johnstown to play it a little bit more like a brawl composition, not really look for isolated targets, but rather just to see how close Cherry Bloom is playing here. They just want to be the main tank. It's like Cherry Bloom's a Reinhardt, but River Galaxy is popping off. Space created.
Yeah, that is what, 4 players down in that short amount of time? It's crazy. I mean, that's what you're doing with the Winston, is you're wanting to make the space stay on the payload and give your snipers room to work. Now, Cooper falling here, Resurrection's probably going to be unlikely in this scenario. So knowing that you're down 1, you need to start getting aggressive and try to make something come out of it. Get a trade to buy time for your Hanzo to return to the fight, but Storm is peppering this Winston down, but this is the Reaper Galaxy 1 and finds 2 with the sniper trying to take them out, and just a 3rd on top of it, looking for this Zenyatta, doesn't have a mercy pocket anymore, getting kicked into a corner. The elimination! That was absolutely crazy what River Galaxy was able to pull off.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I did really like watching Gaming Bumble just kick River around. That was pretty comical to me as a Zen player myself. Good stuff, Gaming Bumble. Matic ends up collapsing a little bit early. River Galaxy still able to play this this favorable position. It's a little bit forward, you know, and so you really want to start seeing Ferndale opt for punishing that Widow for playing this particular position. A little bit challenging, but that is going to be something that is up to Storm. To instead of converging onto the Winston Cherry Bloom, you actually want to go after this squishier hero, this hero who takes a little bit less time to kill, and see what you can accomplish that way. That's an adjustment I want to see Ferndale make here.
Don't get me wrong, diving the Widow is always a great target, but with the Mercy Pocket invested, Zeke is responsible for keeping them alive. Slender is rather on their own.
But they have the Transcendence. Oh no, look at how quickly Storm ended up out of mech there.
Headshots after headshot into that mech is such a large hitbox. It might not look like it, but to snipers, that is like the money shot right there. Diva mech, it's just free ult charge looking at it.
Layla's mirroring the Widow now as well, which should make for some pretty exciting duels. The difference here, though, is that River Galaxy has the infrared sights. Look how far they're backing up. Why is Greater Johnstown walking away from this? They were so confident about this cold. Oh, that's probably why. Look at Layla walking to Cooper. Let's go.
You say why? They're afraid of Layla. They know that that's the thing that they needed because River Galaxy was in the same position for so long. You can't afford to be as predictable when you're facing another Widow duel.
No, absolutely not. Car has to get moving here. Ferndale? Wait, Ferndale.
We're thinking about
has to move the objective.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go. Okay.
We're on the car now. Get a little bit of progress. Greater Johnstown has given Ferndale this for free, which is so incredibly important.
Really?
Greater Johnstown still holding on to a couple of pretty crucial ultimates, but they're sacrificing some pretty serious space, some significant space that they could use those abilities in. I'm not sure what the idea is here for Greater Johnstown, holding onto a defensive second point position, but there's got to be a plan here, and surely Greater Johnstown stops the objective before it captures first point.
You gave up a lot of space, so we gotta assume that the Trojans have a plan for this. That's not a great start, though. Losing Slender because the res. But you need to get yourselves on that objective. There's no way they're giving this up, is there?
Greater Johnstown! What are they?
What?
You do get a touch here from Cherry Bloom now, but it's a little bit too late. The Transcendence ends up getting popped as well.
Well, that is not how we quite imagined the first point ending out, but I can see why they chose that positioning now, as they just wiped the team clean with their snipers and that high ground, but you've given up that checkpoint, and therefore the spawns, and another distance you're just gonna have to make in your attack.
As well as you've awarded Ferndale with a little bit more time to operate on this first attacking round. Now, River Galaxy is now granted a highly favorable position to continue playing this Widowmaker, but I'm not sure that it was totally worth it here. Definitely a disconnection there from Greater Johnstown. Just marginally disappointing, but it does allow them to get this second point close hold as well. Look at Cooper already popping off.
And Hanzo shoot arrows and it hits things. Sometimes it's frustrating, but this is some skill. Taking 2 down before they do, that's well worthy of their sacrifice, in my opinion.
Cherry Bloom has been sitting on the primal range for a little bit, for a little while as well. So you know, this space is also going to be something that you can see that ultimate used. Matic onto the Bastion. That's going to be plenty of pressure onto Cherry Bloom. We might see primal forced out rather than committed.
Maybe? maybe that's what you're going for. I mean, the Winston probably took that aggressive initiative to get their snipers back in position. Because look how much time that did buy. The Transcendence has already been out too. Slender isn't there. Trojan might have the Valkyrie, but the Resurrection likely isn't going to be able to come through. But who needs it? You got Cherry Bloom, Angry Monkey, just swinging away with those fists. Yeah, you see the Ashe as well, getting beaten up. Forced all the way back, had that been their own self-destruct, too, we would have seen a much different scenario.
Yeah. Cherry Bloom almost went down to the self-destruct as well. Just barely managed to save themselves. They might go down to Matic right now.
Oh, almost. It was so
out.
close to find it, but Trojan and River Galaxy are just, they're hitting shots with those snipers, and the Dragon Strike is committed into that. That might hurt them a little moving forwards. Friends are like, this might be our shot to come back in.
Quite possibly. All they need to do is get out of spawn, round this first corner as well. This is a troubled hold. Oh, what is Zeke doing? Almost goes for a revive there, but knew that Gaming Bumble was looking right at him.
It was a good choice to try to back off. He did find Slender, though. Ferndale putting the Zenyatta opponent into the ground. That scenario. Storm has been doing much better with Daemon on the Moira. Extra burst of healing compared to that of Mercy's Zenyatta have its advantages depending on how you're playing the composition, and that is up close and personal. If you can get there, Ferndale, they're finding success, and now is the time to do it. You need to get there, but River Galaxy finds two, needs to take out Symmetra out of the fight.
I mean, they do manage to get River Galaxy. The Symmetra's an interesting pick here. It's quite the shift from that long range one-shot potential to a close range microwave them out of the fight. Early Transcendence to allow Greater Johnstown to push this objective.
It gives them the space that they need. Now they're able to get onto the objective. Layla going down early. Transcendence has been built up. So by more time, but you don't. Yeah, you know, as lovely as that Formula car looks, and it's shiny, and you want to take a step back to do it, take a picture. Overtime is not the time to do that.
No, and from any Overwatch veterans on either side will have at this point kind of learned the hard way the overtime and point presence changes that came with the 2.0 update. We see it sometimes on control point where if you don't touch the point by 99%, then you forfeit that round. So definitely Ferndale getting punished a little bit, not necessarily by their unwillingness to touch the objective, because there was one, but rather by the new rule set that's been added into the competitive game modes. Still for Ferndale, a good push, albeit I gotta admit it, partially because Greater Johnstown forfeited the first objective. Again, still not entirely sure why, but Ferndale was able to capitalize. They were able to get the cart moving, get that first objective, get a little bit of time and leeway to continue pushing that objective, this little race car up that ramp. And now Ferndale is looking to emulate the close hold that was so successful from Greater Johnstown, now opting for their defense and now running not a Brawl Winston composition, but a full dive. Look at the mobility that's going to be accessible to this roster.
It's going to be huge. You have the discords from the Zenyatta. I mean, maybe your least mobile player, but the utility, you don't need to be up close and personal. You're perfectly fine just sitting in the back and chilling. A lot of eyes are going to be laying on Fox. Look how low Cherry Bloom is. Had to go back into the spawn as Mercy Zenyatta. It'll take you a good minute to receive the efficient healing to get yourselves in the fight. Taking that time back allows Storm to be forced out of the mech, and Lila's just kind of chilling in the back line. River Galaxy eventually shutting them down, and this F1 race car is on the move.
Damon out dueling two in the back lines, unable to sustain, but a noble effort nonetheless. I like Layla mirroring River Galaxy on all of these picks. That takes some pretty serious confidence. Yeah. Nothing quite forces me off of a hero than seeing someone who can run it better. But both River Galaxy and Layla are undaunted by each other. Echo's also a good matchup against Maddox Torbjorn. No damage fall off, tons of damage potential or burst damage, so you can burn out those turrets really easily.
It's ideally what you're looking to do is not let that Torbjorn too much. We saw it actually in our previous match, the Torbjorn on defense. You need to be able to get set up, however. River Galaxy has not given them a chance to. Matic is going to be set back to spawn, and there's that first point back. Johnstown probably sweating that one a little bit just after giving that last one up for free.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. That was the duplicate coalescence they're used from Earth Galaxy, but you still got a lot of ultimates online here for Greater Johnstown. So they look to make an aggressive push here into the spawn of Ferndale. Don't know how long Cooper ends up staying here. Revive allows Matic to come back into the field. That's very important.
And that is incredibly important. Now that you need to worry about the payload, it's getting free progress right now. The hammer kill!
Yes!
Oh, Mac! You might have gone down to the pulse bomb, but just for that, I will say that is worth it. We like to see it, but the payload again! Johnstown, they're coming up with it. C9 wants C9 again. I mean, not really a C9, but the two players on the payload make that thing go pretty darn fast to a victory for Johnstown to end their season.
You know, we saw that Greater Johnstown wins, but honestly, to me, Matic takes the victory there with the hammer kill. Absolutely beautiful. Ultimately, Greater Johnstown with the veterans, with the leadership, and of course with some pretty spectacular gameplay from River Galaxy and Co. Able to take this win, even up their standing in the tournament so far. So quite possibly good to see Greater Johnstown in the playoffs. But Tiny, I guess the only way to really find out is to wait for playoffs to officially commence and see who all makes it. For Ferndale, ultimately it ended up being a good run, and I'm hoping very much that we get to see them in the next season.
Yep, I mean, Ferndale making their first appearance in the TEC League. We love to see these new teams coming out, developing their esports programs in their own way, getting their start here. Johnstown, just a season's roster. Ferndale, you have your experience now. Coming back next season, I'm looking forward to seeing where they can find that success. And with that, I believe that will conclude our broadcast today for Stream 1. Make sure you're following the Esport Company channel to stay updated on any other games that will be broadcasted here. I know we got some coming up for the rest of this week. And of course, the Overwatch playoffs beginning within the next couple of weeks as well. Cheer your teams on, cheer on your friends. They love to see it. We're happy to be here. It's been Tiny, Shiny, and Lord the Ethan. We'll catch you next time.